They're trying real hard to convince you that you can't lose fat because it's your genetics, that being heavy is inherited. We're going to talk about that today, plus a couple of other things. Hello everyone, I am Semiretiredbob. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. What you're watching is you're watching me walk. I know that doesn't seem super exciting, but if you consider just less than 3 years ago I couldn't do this, I could barely stand for a couple of minutes without severe pain, it starts to get a little bit more interesting. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. It means a lot to me that you spend just a few moments of your day with me. I would like to ask everyone to help me out just a little bit. The camera's not quite at the right angle. There we go. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Drop down in the comments and say, "Hi, Bob." And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. All these things are absolutely free and help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 61 years old, and I'm doing things I couldn't do when I was 40. Like out here walking every day. It is a beautiful morning in Omaha, Nebraska. It was 69 degrees already when I left the house, and I left the house about an hour earlier than I normally do, because it's actually supposed to get hot today. Not hot, but 80 plus. Today is Thursday, but you guys will be seeing this on Friday. And of course, the first thing I want to talk about here real quick is, I'm sure you notice, I don't even remember what side it's on, but I got this red spot here. I actually nicked myself shaving this morning. And what makes that interesting is how carnivore has changed that. Back when I got out of the hospital from my heart surgery and was driving a van for a guy, I was on blood thinners. I nicked myself shaving down here somewhere, and it would not stop bleeding. I ended up having to take just a big ball of gauze and taping it into place along my jawline to catch the blood, because I had to go to work. And when I got out to Columbus, Nebraska, the place I was delivering to, the guy's like, "Holy crap, Bob, what'd you do to your chin?" I said, "Nothing, it's just a little shaving nick, but because I'm on blood thinners." And it was several hours before it finally stopped bleeding and I could take the big gauze ball off my face. I didn't even notice I'd nicked myself until quite a bit later. It bled just a little bit, enough to put a little scab on the top of it, but it's all dried over and I didn't even notice it. I thought that was kind of neat. I mean, is it one of my bigger wins? Well, that's hard to say. But not being on blood thinners anymore, that's one of the visible side effects. Who knows what else could have been happening where you can't see it on blood thinners. So I'm glad that's done. But anyway, one other quick point of note. I know most of you watch my videos. I just have to chuckle because the carnivore diet problems has gotten a lot wider audience than my videos usually do. And I just think it's funny to watch people commenting. And from their comments, it's obvious that they didn't actually watch the video. I do want to talk about one in particular. I think I'm always very clear in my videos that I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I'm not saying that everything I do will work for you. I can't make that claim. I have never made that claim. And can anybody that watches me on a regular basis remember a time when I said, oh, if you do this, you will definitely get the same results I did? No, I always say it will probably improve you in some way. But I never make the claim that all you got to do is what I do. In fact, I go out of my way to say you have to do the experiments for yourself, because not everybody is the same. In fact, nobody's the same. You know, some people may need a little more fat. Some people may need a little less fat. Some people might need one meal a day. Some people might get along like Rick does with 3 big meals a day. There's way too many variables for me ever to say something stupid like, all you got to do is follow my system and you're going to get healthier. I don't believe I've ever said that. And the commenter that implied that, you obviously were just out trolling. And that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But anyway, let's get on into today's topic, because I'm more than halfway to the entrance to the park already. And I don't want this video to get as long as yesterday's did. Do genetics have an impact on your health? Whether it be overweight or kidney disease or any of the other problems that we run into, that can be run into as human beings. Yes, but it's not nearly what they're making it out to be. Oh, well, you're fat because everybody in your family is fat. It's not your fault, it's genetic. Here, have this Ozempic. No. Your genes might make you a little more susceptible, but they're not the primary cause. What else is handed down from generation to generation? Cooking, eating habits, lifestyle choices, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, you can go back in one of my early videos, I even commented that, you know, the people out there try to say that gout isn't hereditary, yet if it's not hereditary, how does my mom have gout, my dad had gout, my brother has gout, and I have gout? What I should have been asking at that time is, why don't my sisters have gout? Myself, my brother, my mom, and my dad all have gout. Well, my dad's not around anymore. He passed from his third heart attack when he was 48. But it's the habits, the eating habits. Your genes might make you a little more susceptible to certain things. But if you don't, as I believe it was Dr. Barry said, your genes might load the gun, but it doesn't shoot the gun. Your diet, your exercise habits. I mean, it's become so commonplace. Wow, that wind's really kicking up out here. I hope you guys can still hear me. It's been so commonplace for, kids 8, 9, 10 years old to be really heavy, to have fatty liver disease, to have type 2 diabetes. Why? Well, because I'm not blaming the parents, because the parents thought they were doing the right thing by following the food pyramid, the government nutrition guidelines. It's like, well, this is what the government says is right, so this is what we should do. They thought they were doing right. But we now know differently. We know a lot better. And that's one of the hardest things. This is really the point of today's video, because I dealt with it back when I was deciding to make the switch to carnivore. Trying to unlearn what we have learned as fact is very, very hard. I mean, I knew as a fact for 40 years that meat causes gout. That's very hard for someone to get over. Some of the other things that we're battling right now, well, let's go back to, when I was a kid, they were saying, well, if you get a cold, drink orange juice, because the extra vitamin C will help you fight a cold. And then I don't remember when it was, but it was sometime in the last 15 years or so, where they finally came out and said, well, we've done a little study and can't find that orange juice or vitamin C has any effect on a cold whatsoever. But something a little more current. Cholesterol causes heart disease. Well, there's been enough studies out there. Granted, it's all associative data, because you can't lock humans in a lab for multiple years or decades to make the claim that this is definitely the case. But I think there's enough associative data out there that we can very confidently say cholesterol and saturated fat do not cause heart disease. Because there are, if you find an association between this and this, there is some doubt. If you have ice cream sales on the beach versus sunburn on the beach, there's a strong association there, but it doesn't really have any real value. There are several meta-analyses out there that have been trying, because they've been trying for decades, to come up with proof that cholesterol and saturated fat are the causes of heart disease. And not only can they not find weak associations, they can't even find very weak associations. In fact, a couple of them found no association at all between cholesterol, saturated fat, and heart disease. But if you tell somebody who's been watching the propaganda machine work for, the last 40 or 50 years, well, I hate to break it to you, but cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease, they're going to get upset. Not with the fact that they've been misinformed for 30 or 40 years. They're going to get mad at you for pointing it out to them. The best argument I ever heard comes from a guy I don't really care for, but he was talking to a person from the other side of the aisle once and said, look, if cholesterol was in any way causal in heart disease, why don't we ever see atherosclerotic plaques on the venous side, the low pressure side of the vasculature? It doesn't happen. But it's the same blood with the same cholesterol and everything else floating through it. And I didn't come here today to talk about cholesterol. I just came here to talk about when you are talking to somebody, understand that they don't want to be told that they've been lied to or been misinformed for decades. They don't want to believe that everything they believed as true is false. It's a hard pill to swallow. I get it. But anyway, I'm not quite halfway through the park here, but I have certainly talked long enough. I will have some more thoughts for you at the end of the video. And if you want to skip ahead to where you see my face on the video again, that's fine. But if you like the music I play, stick around, because here it comes. if you were paying attention during the music section, on that first lap, when I got to the top of my hill, I did that little extra loop to the south, up and around. I don't know how much it added, but it should have added some. And somewhere along in here, I'll post up what today's total walk was. If I had to guess, I think yesterday, I'm not even going to guess, I don't remember, but that should have added just a little bit, probably a 0.1 or 0.2. So slowly but surely, I'm getting farther and farther. But yeah, just understand that when you try to tell somebody a truth that they don't want to hear, whether it be about cholesterol, saturated fat, butter, red meat, processed food, seed oils are another one of the big ones, because the food industry and their propaganda machine has been telling people that canola oil and things like that are heart healthy. And they've been doing it for decades now. And just remember, people are not going to get mad at the people, companies, advertisers, all of the people that have been lying to them for 20, 30, 40 years. They're not going to get mad at those people. They're going to get mad at me, and they're going to get mad at you for pointing out the ridiculousness of what they've been preaching for 30 or 40 years. I mean, I saw a good one, Mitzi, who I follow, put up a little meme that said, you know, the brain and the spinal cord are surrounded by the myelin sheath, which is made up mostly of cholesterol. And cholesterol is the precursor to most of our hormones. Meaning that, you know, if you have to build some hormones, cholesterol is one of the first building blocks. Now, realizing all of that, how stupid is it to think that we should chemically, with pharmaceuticals, reduce the amount of cholesterol that our body is making? Again, this is not a cholesterol video. This is just, that's one of the examples. People will get angry, hostile, because you had the audacity to point out that people have been lying to them their whole life. Everything they knew as fact has been turned upside down. And most people aren't ready to deal with that. So, don't be surprised if you try to talk to people and they get angry with you. That's why I say the best way to convince your family and friends that you know what you're talking about is to just keep living your best life and be the example. Are they going to notice right away? Probably not. But at some point in the future, when something goes wrong with their health, that's when they're going to, you know, Bob made all those changes and look where he's at. Maybe I should go talk to Bob and see what he has to say. That's the best way to convince family and friends. Anyway, hopefully some of what I said today made sense. Don't forget to get out there and be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.